Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services. Welcome to our bid and bond room. My name is Anne Marie McIntyre. I am an Assistant Procurement Officer for the City of Chicago. The units that I manage on a daily basis are work services, professional services, and vehicles and heavy equipment. Just to reiterate, Millie, thank you for coming today and spending your time with us this afternoon. I hope you find this workshop beneficial, and if you attended the previous one, I hope you found that one beneficial as well. Again, thank you on behalf of Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the Chief Procurement Officer, Jamie Rhee. We appreciate your interest in doing business with the city. And again, we hope that you get some useful information this afternoon. Okay, so this is doing business with the City of Chicago. Basically, this workshop just outlines our role and responsibility in the procurement process for the city. We're going to touch on some points today, one being our mission statement, the laws that govern our purchasing process, certain types of procurement, the certification process, contract monitoring compliance, programs and bid incentives that the city has, navigating the DPS website, which is a workshop in and of itself. But I can't recommend using our website enough. It is a great resource of information, current news, current ordinances, new ordinances, history. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in doing business, to certainly look at our website, and especially for current bid opportunities. Okay, so we are the contracting authority for the City of Chicago for goods and services. So essentially, we're responsible for working with our clients, which are the user departments for the city. And we're responsible for getting their contracts in place to meet whatever needs that they have. So it's also important to understand that, like I said, we are for the City of Chicago. There are agencies that we refer to as our sister agencies, like the CTA, the Park District. They have their own contracting authority. So we do have some confusion in the vendor community when those agencies put out bids and solicitations, but we just represent the City of Chicago and their departments, water, CPD, which is Chicago Police Department, Chicago Fire Department. And like I said, the other agencies do have their own contracting authority. So when you are looking at solicitations for us, you're essentially dealing with those departments. Okay, so we operate under federal, state, and local laws, as well as some city policies and procedures. The two laws that govern the procurement process are the Municipal Purchasing Act of the State of Illinois, and that governs the city's procurement practices, as well as Chapter 292 of the Municipal Code of the City of Chicago. This has created our department and also sets the framework for how we operate. Understandably, we are not all lawyers and legal experts, but I do recommend familiarizing yourself with those laws. I think it's important to have a basic understanding of how we operate and what our processes are. And those are easily Googled, found online too. So again, we can't all be lawyers, but it's good to have an understanding of those. Okay, so there's several types of procurement that we, as the city, use to acquire goods and services. I think what's important to look at is the who, how, what, and why, right? So I think the first thing to look at is who. Who does DPS, Department of Procurement Services, help? So we assist like I said earlier, our clients are the departments. So we assist fire, police, water in acquiring through the legal process goods and services. And the what. So again, goods and services. Goods are something tangible. For me, one of the major goods I work with is vehicles, heavy equipment, so our fleet department, snow plows, things of that nature. Services. I assist with work services. That could be unarmed security guard services, professional services. We have which are more complex in nature, which would be financial services, IT services. So, difference being one is more intangible, and your goods are tangible. So how do we acquire those? Goods usually and work services would be through a competitive bid process. So essentially, by law, that is awarded to the vendor with the lowest price. But also, that vendor with the lowest price has to be responsive and responsible. So those are two main components of not only being the lowest bidder. So by responsive, that means you've read the solicitation, you've read the specification, you have provided everything to the city that is required, whether it be certain certifications that you may have in your field or certain licenses, those types of things. You're responsible. So that means we look at, are you capable of providing what you say you can provide, whether it's a good or a services, and that needs to be proven in how you respond in your bid. So we'll give a brief overview. I won't go through point by point for all of these, but we'll touch briefly on them. So the first one is a small order, and that's for goods or services that are under $100,000. It's not required to be publicly advertised, but we do put it on our website. We can fax that, email that to vendors that are out in the community that we know of. We usually solicit from our MBWE vendors, and there's only a compliance requirement for all goods and services over $10,000. Competitive bids, then, is a formal solicitation for goods and services over $100,000. So this is advertised by law in the newspaper, in the Sun-Times. There's daily advertisements. It's also found on our website, www.cityofchicago.org/procurement. The bid and bond room has copies. The calendar date is required for 10 to 30 days. Most of our bids are at least 30 days. There's also some bids, mostly construction, require a deposit for plans, but you usually wouldn't see that in a goods or services. It's mostly construction. So in this slide, one of the things that's real important is our pre-bids. I find those highly useful for vendors to attend because that is where you can ask your questions to the department. You can, when you get the solicitation, if there's things that are unclear. I find that the vendors are the expert in the field, so a lot of times they may already know of something good or service that's already advanced and what the city is asking for, and you could question that, and they could go back to the drawing board, re-look at the specification or the technical details, and rework, rewrite, or see if that would meet their needs. When you have questions, we always have a deadline to email those in. You work with our department to ask your questions. We then issue an addendum, and we usually then extend the bid to answer questions. It's important when you take a solicitation out, not only if you download, to contact bid and bond rooms so that you're on our takeout list, because if we do issue addendums, you have to follow then on the website. If you're on our takeout list, they will automatically be sent to you. The specialist that is in charge of the project would email that to you. But it's real important to get your name in there, because if you don't follow the website on a continual basis, you may miss it. And if you don't include your addendum receipt, then that could be cause for bid rejection. So just remember that, because you are able to download, and it's not trackable. So it's important to, if you don't pick it up from Bid and Bond or register, to register to get those notifications. Okay, so I would say the majority of the time, most bids, solicitations have a pre-bid conference. Once in a while, it's not required. Requirement is not always mandatory. Some projects, they are mandatory. So again, careful reading of what is required. You know, there are occasions when departments really want the vendors to come see whatever it is that they are going to be doing with it, so they can, if it's moving something or installation, they can see the layout of the room to know the vehicle or equipment you're going to need, which would affect your pricing. So again, real important to, if you're going to come, to see if it's mandatory or not. A lot of times they're on site. Most of the time they're here in this room. And not only is the department here, and Department of Procurement Services are here, the department that issues the solicitation, compliance is usually here to answer questions as well, which does offer some help when you're filling out these bids and proposals. Okay. Completing the bid documents, again, real important. And it looks very daunting. Some of these packages are really large, but I can't say enough how important it is to read every aspect of it, especially the technical part, especially what information that they're looking for. Fill in all the required information. Proposal pages are a big one where, in the lines to fill out your pricing, where we often see something left empty or not completed, and then it's, you know, an automatic looking at it. It could be rejected, right? You know, just for missing something. So it's real important to look at anything you need required to send in, anything required to be filled out, anything where you need your signature or notarized. It's real important to pay careful attention to detail. The signatory pages, that they're included with your bid. If there's addendums that you've, you know, recognize them, sign them, put the receipt in, because the addendum is important because it could change the specification or important details, and we need to know that you've seen this and you're aware of this, and this is our confirmation that you have and that you're aware of those changes. So again, it's real important to pay attention to detail. Bid submittals, again, bid deposits are usually construction contracts, and they are refundable. Bid fees are non-refundable, again, depending on the bids. Timely. If it's due at 11, it is due at 11. We cannot legally accept anything after the due date for competitive bids. Bid and Bond, you know, will not accept them. They're time stamped. So it's really important to make sure it's here on time. Get it in a day before, if you have to, day of that morning, whatever it takes. It's key to pay attention to those little details. Competitive bids, real quick, Monday through Friday, we have openings, usually at 11 o'clock here in this room. They're open and read aloud by Tish and Carol. They are tabulated, and that is a first tabulation. They are then processed in our department for any mathematical errors or anything of that nature. But the apparent low bidder would then be seen, but again, once it's reviewed and tabulated in our department, that would be processed, posted to the website within 24 hours. Again, on the website, another piece of information that we post on a regular basis. The award process, again, for competitive bidding, not only is it lowest price, but responsive and responsible. The department reviews the bid tabs that are submitted and all the bid information. We provide them a summary with all the documentation. The recommendation of award is issued by the client department. They will tell us, who they, if they agree with that lowest bidder. It's routed through for signature, comptroller, mayor's office, our department, sign the contract, wet signatures. They're looked at by everybody. Yes, and at that time, all your information would be required. If bonds are required, up-to-date insurance certificates, economic disclosures, which we have vendors complete online, those are required. All compliance, all documentation at time of award is necessary in order to award the contract. Okay, so the next one is requests for proposals. So requests for proposals are a different process than a competitive bid in that they are mostly used for services that are professional in nature. Again, it would be IT services, financial consulting services, real estate appraisals services, again, something that are a little more niche, a little more complex than a work services. Not to say that a work services contract isn't as important as a professional services, it's just the nature of the area that we're looking at. So why do we use an RFP for these services? Because in the nature of the business of professional services, we are not only looking at a quality price, but we are looking at the quality of the proposal that you're sending in. So we have something we need, you're going to send your proposal in, and we need to evaluate how you are going to address our needs, right? So for an IT project that we may have coming up, vendor A will propose something, vendor B will propose something, and vendor C will propose something. So it's evaluated by a team. Whoever meets the proposal adequately enough and at the best pricing, and key being best value for the city, will be awarded that contract. So lowest price isn't necessarily what makes a vendor in this contract the awardee. It's a balance that are looked at by a team evaluation committee. You're scored on your submittals. You are scored on, usually we have a oral presentation where the vendors come in, present their proposals, their ideas, and you are scored on that and evaluated. So it's more intense, but it's a balance that we need to have because of the nature of the services that we're looking for. Okay, and the same thing then for requests for qualifications, the RFQ process. So for this particular type of contracts, we are looking for your qualifications. It's usually for a pool, for a master consulting agreement. Again, we have pools of IT consultants, financial consultants, real estate management consultants. So you submit your qualifications, similar to submitting a resume for a certain job. Depending on your qualifications, and it falls under the scope that we're looking for, you'll be awarded a contract to be in that pool. So you're in a pool and you're awarded a contract in that pool. So your next question is, well, how do I get a contract then? when do they call me? So essentially what happens, it's a task order process. What a task order is sort of a mini RFP or a mini project-based project that is sent to all of the vendors in that specific category of that specific pool. So if you're in a category, we'll say for real estate appraisal services, everyone would be sent a task order, and your responses would be sent back, and again, evaluated by that department, and then the best vendor that suits their needs would be selected. So on the slide, you'll see it's most commonly A&E designs, but again, it's A&E's architectural engineering. That's our largest pool of vendors, but we do have various others. We are planning now services for Department of Planning, so we do have quite a few different pools of selected vendors for MCAs. And again, evaluated on qualifications and technical competence in that field. Okay, so the next one is job order contracts. And I'm not gonna go into too much detail actually for this, because there's actually a separate workshop for job contracts. Again, this is for medium to small construction projects. It's departmental based, and they will issue a solicitation. It's advertised, and then general contractors would respond. There is a unit price book that's also issued, and then your response is based off of discounts or unit and measure descriptions that are in there. We're looking for the most favorable adjustment to the price book. So again, that's a whole nother world that I wouldn't be very specific to speak on, so you can attend that workshop. I'm sure the list will be out there for next year for a lot more information on job order contracts. Okay, and I think you guys had, some of you may have attended a certification workshop earlier, so again, I'm pretty sure we went to a lot of detail on that. I'll just cover the basics of the 5 certification types for the city. For the historically disadvantaged groups, the MBE, minority-owned businesses, enterprises, WBE, women-owned business enterprises, BEPD, business enterprises for people with disabilities, DBE, disadvantaged business enterprises, which is usually and only for our federally funded projects, and then ACBDE, which is for our airport concessions, and again, would only be on airport contracts, certain airport contracts. The city has reciprocity with Cook County for certification, so if you're certified with Cook County or the city, that's acceptable to us for application as a suburb prime for certain contracts. And the eligibility is 51% controlled by MBE, WBE, or other disadvantaged individual. Okay, so also under our certification compliance units are contract monitoring compliance, right? So our compliance department monitors all primes and payments to subcontractors. They monitor job sites. They make sure that payments are being made to our subcontractors. The city also has a lot of ordinances and incentives for construction-based projects. And I believe in the last month, I think we just issued another dozen or so. A lot are construction-based for local performance and things of that nature. So again, all online. You can feel free to peruse through those. But the city is really focused on transparency and equal opportunities for all of our residents and small and large businesses alike. So how do you achieve compliance? Again, we'll breeze through this. You can act as a prime, MBE, WBE, DBE, joint venture with the MBE, WBE, subcontracting under a prime. And again, I would suggest attending if you see an opportunity that's out there and you feel you would be a good candidate as a sub to attend our pre-bids or our pre-submittal conferences and meet with the vendors. It's a good opportunity to network. And so always try to follow what is advertised and what's coming up for pre-bids. And then that's purchasing materials too, as another way to sub for primes. So we have contract monitoring and compliance for reporting requirements. And again, these are payments, subcontractor payments, certification forms, certified payrolls, waivers of lien. We have a C2 system that's accessible through our website where vendors make payments to the, our subs. And again, everything's trackable. It's all online, all transparent. Okay. So DPS also has many programs and many bid incentives that we offer. A lot of these programs, again, you'll find more information on our website and through Millie's office, and our certification programs. So the SBI construction, diversity credit program, and the mentor protege program. We have. This is a listing of our bid incentives. Like I said, I believe we have a dozen more that are on there. A lot for construction, but small business enterprises, veteran-owned, joint ventures, and small businesses, BPD, people with disabilities businesses, city-based businesses. So if the majority of your business and your employees live and work within the city of Chicago, it's a bid incentive. So it's a percentage that would be, included off your bid to make you a low bidder. So you could get anywhere from 2 to 7% bid incentive on your bid, depending on what categories you fall into. And so again, those are important things. And for more information, again, on our website, the ordinance are there. For you to look at to see if any of those do apply when you are looking to apply. Okay, so again, the DPS website. I can't talk and speak of this highly enough because I use it every day to look up information. It's a plethora of history, of transparent bids, contracts, current opportunities, what DPS is doing, current events. It's really a useful tool. There's a list here, a short list of items that you can get off there: awarded contracts, modifications, payments, bid tabulations, what's opening, what opportunities are available, our directory of MBWEs, the bid incentives, which I talked about, regulations, ordinances, everything is up there. So you have to dig. Like I said, we do have a workshop for that because it is pretty intense, but I can't speak enough about it. It's the place to go, especially when you're looking for information and you're thinking about doing business with the city. So this is just, I think, one of the pages on how to search. You'll see you can search by vendor. All the buttons or the fields on the left-hand side. Contracts and awards, if you have a contract number, a specification number, any detail, you can search through that. It even goes into detail, economic disclosures. So that little button there next to the contract where it says details, if you click on that, it will pull up modifications as well as the EDS, which is public information to see the businesses and their retained parties, things of that nature. So I mean, when I tell you everything is up there, everything is up there. We're very proactive about being transparent for all of our contracts. Modifications as well. Those are posted and scanned to the web. You can also track vendor payments online under that tab. And bid tabulations, which I spoke about as well, those are up within 24 hours. You can also go way back, I believe, or archive way back to about 5 or 6 years for past bid tabulations. And if you're a savvy vendor looking to do business with the city, you'll go back to old contracts, follow spec number to see 5 years ago, well, who bid what, who's my competition, or things of that nature. If you have to think outside the box to kind of get into the city and to look at that information. Let's see. Yep. So contract payment search. Again, I think contract awards. It's really searchable. It's user friendly for this part of it. I think instead of going through contract, yeah. So I think that is essentially the workshop. So let's see if there's anything else. No. So again, I really can't, again, stress enough, go to the website. Again, my name is Anne Marie McIntyre. Work services, vehicles, heavy equipment, professional services. You have my card. If you haven't, it's on the table. I can give you one before you leave. I'm available for any questions you might have after, or you can contact me later. We're easily reachable via phone, email. Again, I thank you for attending today. And we can ask questions now if you like. And if I don't have an answer, I can direct you, hopefully, to the right person who can answer your questions after. But anyway, thanks. That's my show. Okay. 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 Sure. So, can I ask what your service is or goods? Okay. So sounds like something maybe Department of Family Services might be interested. No. Okay. Health Department. Police. Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. So you can reach out to the department. One of the most important things too, not only reaching out to the department, is following our buying plan. It's forecasted quarterly. So if you see a project that's coming up that relates to the services that you provide, that's a good forecast to prepare you for what's coming. So we do also, depending on what the city is looking for, I mean, we always have a compliance, requirement. So you could hook up with the primes that are in that business. Again, that would be something if we have a current contract. More than likely, if the same contract is going out on the street, those primes will bid. So you could network with those primes. Another factor is attending pre-proposal conferences and pre-bid conferences to meet with those. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Sure. So once it's advertised, there's always a procurement specialist or senior procurement specialist that's on, that is listed on there, and all the information about who to contact. You can call the department too prior to introduce yourself. I don't have names about that particular service, but you can reach out to the department yourself. And, you know, we also have vendor fairs where the departments are. That would be, you know, another good opportunity to attend those. I think we just had in May, right, was our vendor fair. Oh, okay. Oh, the department wasn't there for you? Oh, too bad. Oh, okay. Oh, no. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at type of certifications that might be required, if you were someone that is applying, not necessarily to it as one of those certifications, is there a listing or a place that you can go to find out organizations that may have already been vetted by the city?
Sure.
So that you can then reach out and align with them?
Yes.
Once the bid comes out or even before that?
It is, yep. It's all on our website, all of our certified vendors, right?
And then one other question on the opening of the bids. Is that open to the public then?
Sure.
So everyone that would have submitted is able to be there and hear kind of what the competitors within their own
Correct.
space?
That's correct. It's an open process, and then it's also streamed online. You can see it on YouTube too. You know, so.
And my last question would be, kind of piggybacking off her last question. If you're able to identify a person within procurement that would be in charge of or driving that procurement process, is it fruitful to reach out and have some dialogue with that person? You know, maybe have a coffee or get some understanding of the last time this happened. You know, kind of what my company would have stood
Right.
up, or how the decision was reached, so that then you can frame your response for the next time that comes out.
So you probably want to reach out to the client department and whoever issued the bid. The specialist for the procurement side sort of just drives the procurement process. It wouldn't be the SME in the service or the goods that you're providing. So that's where you'd want to go, you know, to meet with that department. They provide, yes, the client. Correct. Correct. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Not for our RFQs, no. You're just qualification based. So, sure. Well, okay. So the RFQ is issued, and depending on what. Oh, RFP? Okay, so the RFP would be issued, it's project-based. Now, RFQ is qualification, you want the RFP? Okay, sure, so the RFP is as a project-based. Yeah, let me just see if I can just go off of one. So we'll just say like for an IT project. The city is in need of, we'll say, new software to do ticketing, right? So they'll put out what their needs are, and you would submit a proposal on how to meet those needs. So proposals are submitted, and there's items and documents that are required. There's also certain criterion you have to meet. Now, every proposal would be different in what those criterion, but it would be in the RFP. So financial statements, references, your history, your methodology to this, your staffing, your resumes of your staff. So depending on what it is, but essentially those do remain the same. You're first looked at on the submission of your document. So again, are you responsive? Do you submit everything? Yes. Okay, are you responsible? So we're going to look now at all your documents that you submitted. Are you responsible? Do you meet financial capacity? Are you able to provide this service for the city without, you know, do you have too much on your plate, right? They'll look at your current jobs. Maybe you can't handle this. So that will be, you know, evaluated. And then the final step then is you're brought in for usually an oral presentation to the committee. Now the committee members, the evaluation committee members, are usually made up of the client department. They would vote, evaluate you, score you, and then after scoring is complete, you're deemed highly qualified, qualified, or less qualified. And again, depending on the parameters of the RFP, certain levels would move up. And then you would enter into contract negotiations. There could, sure. And yeah, or it's open. But usually it's one round of oral presentations. You could be asked to clarify something. Usually what the oral is for, right, is upon your submittal, if there's questions about your proposal or can you elaborate on this process, right? So it's, that's your time, that's your moment to shine, like to really show what you can't really see in paper to whatever the project may be. So there's, about 3 phases, and then it's contract negotiations, and then signing the agreement. So it is a process. It does take a little time, but it's vetted very thoroughly, and for reasons of, quality and value for the city. Okay.
When submitting a proposal
Mm-hmm.
for an RFP, is it with the assumption then that the pricing that you're submitting is essentially from the beginning your best and final, or is there a process that the city will go through where any corporations will come to us and say, can you show me this?
Absolutely, right. That's what the flexibility of the RFP process gives us, right? So we have the flexibility to negotiate pricing, service levels, things of that nature, which you don't get in a bid. So that is why we have this tool for those services and for those projects that would not necessarily be based on a pricing scale. So yeah, everything is pretty much negotiable. Yeah. for RFPs. Mm-hmm. Does anyone have anything else? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you again for your afternoon with me. I hope it was informative.